Hi everyone, welcome to this webinar on Salesforce SharePoint integration, and thank you all for joining. Let's get started. My name is Vishay Singhal. I'm CEO of CloudFiles, and I'm joined with my colleagues Sid, Sharmi, Shaunak, and Naman today. We'll be talking about Salesforce SharePoint integration in detail. And before that, I'll give some background about the company CloudFiles. So we are a Salesforce ISV partner, and we have been on AppExchange for over a year. And we are into document management and we have a very high focus on Salesforce users. So agenda for today's webinar is first we'll talk about why you should connect your Salesforce and SharePoint, or if you use any other cloud storage, why you should connect that with Salesforce. The second thing is what are the native solutions available on Salesforce today for file storage and for such kind of integrations. Then we'll talk about our solution, which is an AppExchange. It's called CloudFiles. We'll then go into the demo of CloudFiles, some of its features and some of the automations. Okay. So to start with, why should you connect your Salesforce and SharePoint? So you see, Salesforce is a great CRM. I've worked on a couple of CRMs, and Salesforce by far is my favorite. But Salesforce is not that great with respect to files and documents because that's not its core thing that it should be doing. So a couple of issues that are there with Salesforce files. One is that it gets very expensive when you have a lot of files in Salesforce. They have a very generous limits, but for bigger companies, especially, it gets over very soon. And after that, it's very expensive. Second is it doesn't support folders. It lacks organization of your files and folders. It's a very flat structure that you have to live with. Then sharing files with your community users or even outside of Salesforce is very challenging. And if you are working with files in your automations or in your Apex code, it has so many limits that it basically makes it unusable because the governor limits in Apex is about 6 MB, which is very less. So a couple of issues that we have already talked about Salesforce, and the solution to this is very simple, that you can connect your external storage like SharePoint into Salesforce while you keep the same experience for users or even improve it. Now, when you have to connect SharePoint to Salesforce, what are the native solutions that Salesforce already has for it? So you might have heard about Salesforce Files Connect. It's a very popular feature of Salesforce, and it can be used to integrate your SharePoint or any other storage like Google Drive or Box into Salesforce. There are some issues again with Files Connect, so I'll talk about them. First thing is that it doesn't. It's the setup is very complex, but it's a one-time problem. Let's say you solve it. It still doesn't support folder functionality that we were talking about. So it lacks organization. It doesn't support community sharing as well, sharing with your experienced cloud users. And also it doesn't support, and this is the biggest issue with it, that it doesn't support uploading of files from Salesforce. It only supports getting files inside Salesforce. So I'll quickly show you Files Connect as well before we get into our solution. Okay, so I'm on an account here and we have this files component. I have already done the complex setup of SharePoint using Files Connect, and it's here. Now, what this thing is going to do is it will show you all your SharePoint documents, and then you can just pull whatever documents you want to pull. It only works with files. It does not work with folders, so you cannot link folders. So I'm just going to go into any file that I have, and I'm just going to pick one and attach it here. So we have this file. Now, when I attach it, it actually is still in SharePoint, but it's connected here, and you can click on the file and you can see it. Hopefully the preview should work, but yeah, sometimes it does not. So for PDFs or PPTs, but this is the native solution, right? Now, the problem with this is that you cannot upload files from here into SharePoint. So if you want to, let's say, upload a new file for this account, you have to first go into SharePoint, find the right folder for that account, upload the file there, and then connect it. So this again, makes it impractical to use most of the times. Then what other solutions you have if you want to connect your SharePoint with Salesforce? So you can always build a custom solution, and we'll talk about build versus buy issue here. This is always a debate between for customers. So if you want to build an integration with SharePoint yourself or with a developer or consultancy firm, first you have to build a Lightning Web component that we can put on the record page. Then you have to build an API integration with SharePoint, or if you're using any other storage, then you have to build the integration with that. You have to handle authentication. This is one of the critical security thing that you would be doing. So you have to be very careful about the security. You have to handle permissions both on Salesforce side and SharePoint side as well as the Experience Cloud side. And then you have to handle all the file size restrictions, governor limits, and all. So this is not an easy project. We have been doing it for a lot of time, and we know about it. So generally, most of the times, it is easier and cheaper that you can use an AppExchange solution. Now, there are a bunch of AppExchange solution to do this, and we have one such solution on AppExchange. It's called CloudFiles. Uh, CloudFiles has been on AppExchange for about a year, and it has been very highly reviewed. So we have all 5-star ratings. Some of our customers are also on this call. Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining and supporting us. So you can look for all the reviews there, and I'll get back to the rest of the presentation. Now, what this does, so CloudFiles is a document automation tool and file management tool. It connects your SharePoint with Salesforce, and it provides a two-way sync. It has lots of automation that you can use for your file management process. You can also share files with people outside of Salesforce and SharePoint using CloudFiles, and it has all the security and analytics which are very much configurable. At the same time, it is also a zero setup product. You install it, it takes about 5 minutes to get started with it. So we will go through the live demo of CloudFiles, and I've split it into 4 main topics. One is the access, how you access your SharePoint into Salesforce. The second is how you share your files. Third, we'll go into automations in detail. So these would be some examples of document management processes. And then you can also report on your files, how many files are being uploaded, who are looking at it, or looking at them and all. Okay, so let's get into the demo. I'll first show you the CloudFiles component in Salesforce. So once you install CloudFiles, you're going to get a Lightning Web component that you can insert on any record page in Salesforce, and it works with all kind of objects, standard and custom. And you can select a folder in SharePoint that you can connect to a specific record in Salesforce. So I'm going to do just that here. So I have a folder already for this account. I created that already before the webinar. It's called Demo SharePoint Webinar, which is same as the account's name. So I'm just going to select it here. Now, what this does is it's creating a window into this folder in SharePoint. Okay, so I can directly jump to SharePoint from here by just clicking this link, and you can see everything same in SharePoint. I can upload files here, and as many files at a time, I can just simply drag and drop. There are no file size limitations as well. And this is a very fast upload. So let me just do that. And these files now directly are going into this folder in SharePoint. They're not going into Salesforce, not consuming any storage. They're also not coming to CloudFiles in any way. They're directly going into your SharePoint. And we can check that in SharePoint. So I'll just refresh this. And you see the files are here. When you have these files, if you want to look at them in Salesforce, anytime you come back to this record in Salesforce, you're going to see them, unless they are deleted from SharePoint, of course. To have a quick preview, you can simply click on the file name, and you're going to see the preview of the file. CloudFiles support all kind of file types, so it can be a PDF, PPT, Word doc, or literally any kind of file format. Couple of other things you can do here is you can download the file. You can also rename it, which is going to rename it in SharePoint. You can replace this file, which will replace it in SharePoint, and it will also keep the version history. You can move it into different folder, or you can share it, which I will come to next. You can also, if it's an editable file, you can simply open it in SharePoint and you can edit it. And when you edit it here, it's actually getting edited live in SharePoint. So if you click on the file again in Salesforce, you're going to see the latest version. So the editing is supported as well. Now, you can upload files by clicking the button or dragging and dropping. You can also create subfolders here. So let me just create a subfolder called demo subfolder. And this folder is actually going to be created in SharePoint for you. So I'll go to SharePoint and refresh the page again here, and you'll see that demo subfolder is here. Now let's upload some files here in SharePoint. And once these are uploaded, I'm just going to go back to my Salesforce, refresh this, and you would see that you would instantly see these files here. So first thing is that there is no sync as such. The technology that's working here makes it instant that you see the files. Whatever you have in SharePoint, you instantly see it here, right? So whether you upload the files in Salesforce or in SharePoint, it's a two-way sync. Now, one more feature important for SharePoint users is custom columns in SharePoint. It's used a lot, especially by Salesforce customers, because you have lots of data in Salesforce, and that data is in business context. Your files are also in the same context. So you want to keep some bits of that in your SharePoint. In SharePoint, you can create custom columns. I've already created one called asset type, and it can be one of the three values, which I'll just show you. Now, I've already added this asset type here, but you can control this from here. So click on select field to display, and you can actually choose any custom field or any standard field in SharePoint. And you can just move it to this side for them to be visible here. You can also just remove it from your view. And as an admin, you can also save these settings for all your users. Now, for this file, I'm just going to, or let's pick the one at the root folder. So for this file, I'm going to change its type to contract and just save it. So now when I save it in Salesforce, it's actually updated in SharePoint as well. So we're going to a folder here, and you would see that it's here. This is also two-way, so you can change it here, and it would instantly be updated in Salesforce. Okay, so that's the UI part of CloudFiles. I think one last thing here. You can also switch it to grid view. So if you have lots of images, for example, the grid view works better because you can have a quick look. The list view gives you more options though. So now we'll move on to other features of it. That is creating and sharing, creating the sharing links and configuring them. So one of the options that we saw earlier was sharing the files. Now, this sharing is not with people in your Salesforce or your partners or customer community portal users. These are the people who are not in your Salesforce in any way or not in your SharePoint. So you create a CloudFiles link to share these files. This also supports sharing folders. Now, you would say that why don't we directly use SharePoint links to share? And there are a couple of issues with that. So CloudFiles links are actually much more advanced than SharePoint links, and they are purpose built for Salesforce users. One of the biggest problems that you see with SharePoint links is that organizations lots of times they would not allow you to even create or share the links outside of SharePoint. That's one problem, because once you share the link, you don't have much visibility that what's happening with it. Secondly, the security settings that we have on CloudFiles link is much more, as well as the branding, which I'll just get into. So a couple of settings here. You can disable the download of the file. So share the link and people can only look at your content. They cannot download it. So if you see this presentation that I'm showing is actually CloudFiles link. I have a download option here because I've enabled it. But if you disable it, this option won't be here. And there is no way for customers to, for people to actually download this file. You can also add expiry settings where the link would automatically expire after a certain amount of time or number of views. You can take the link offline at any time, or you can replace a new version and keep the same link. So basically, the content can get updated while your users have the same link. You can add a password to the link. You can add security settings that people have to enter their email address, what email addresses are allowed, what are blocked, as well as the company domains. So all those settings which are not natively present in SharePoint links are here in CloudFiles. Now I'm going to take this link and I'll show you how it looks to your users when they look at it. So this is how they see the files right here in the browser. This is, you can completely brand it. So you can add your logo to it. You can change the URL to your company's URL. So your customers won't know that this is even shared using CloudFiles, which is again a huge improvement over SharePoint. One more thing which is not enabled on this demo account, but you can add a chat bot to your file. So if your customers have questions, they can just ask it. So it kind of is turning your file into a website and making it very interactive. Now, back in Salesforce, I can see the full analytics of it. So I would have full visibility that who is looking at my files, how much time they're spending, where they're coming from. You can also use this data to send periodic reminders or, just know about your prospects' interest before you go into next call with them. Or you can use it as an audit trail as well. So lots of use cases here with respect to analytics. So that was our analytics and sharing feature. Now, I'm going to come to the most important part of CloudFiles, which is automations. CloudFiles support two kind of automations. One is the flow-based automations, where you set up a Salesforce flow, you use CloudFiles actions there, and you automate your file-related process or your document management process. I'll go into the examples of it in detail. The second kind of automations are based on platform events. So lots of things keep happening in Salesforce. For example, people would create folders, people would upload file, or if the file is uploaded by some other tool into your Salesforce. When these things happen, you can automatically run processes, again, set up Salesforce flows, but this time based on the platform event. So I'll get into the examples of this as well. So now we'll go into these automation examples. The very first one that I'll start with is the automatic folder creation. So you saw that how I was on this account and I had to initially select that which folder in SharePoint this account should be connected to. Now, you don't want your users to generally do that because either they're not going to put it in the right place or they will make mistakes. Or you also want to, let's say, enforce a certain kind of folder structure. So you can automate that process. I'm going to create a new account here. Let's call it demo webinar. And when this is created, it triggers a Salesforce flow, which I'll shortly explain you. What that flow does, it creates a folder in my SharePoint at the right place where I have told it. And it also creates some kind of folder structure inside that main folder, and it connects the folder here. So when I go to the Files tab, everything is done for you already. You don't have to manually do anything. So you see that with the account name, it automatically created a folder in SharePoint. You can just jump to SharePoint and have a look at it. And it also created two folders inside it called contacts and opportunities. Now, this is also what I have defined in my flow. You don't have to follow this structure. It's totally up to you how you set up the flow. Now, before I get into the flow, I will also create an opportunity for this account. Okay, not contact, opportunity. And let's call it demo opportunity. Now, when this happens, I again want the same thing, that a folder be created for this opportunity in SharePoint and connected to it. But this time I want that folder be actually created inside the opportunities folder in the account. And that's just for my organization. Your process might differ. So now when I go into this folder, you would see that the folder for opportunity is created right here. And if I go on the opportunity, you can see that this folder is connected here as well. Okay, so now I'll get into the flow that is doing it. These flows are not very difficult to set up once you get a hang of it, but sometimes they might be scary. So that's why CloudFiles provides free support on this, where we'll learn about your use case and we will spend as much time as it's needed to set up those flows. You can also ask for any kind of updates anytime in your flows. So here for the opportunity folder, what I'm doing is just first checking, does the opportunity already has a account folder. If it doesn't, I'm not doing anything here, but you can also just at this time create the folder for the account. So you can handle those cases. But what I'm doing here is I'm creating the folder for the opportunity. And this is a cloud files action, what you see here under with cloud files icon. The CloudFiles actions, you have so many of them available once you install the CloudFiles app. They range from creating a folder in SharePoint to deleting it to creating subfolders, uploading files, copying files, and a lot of them. So I'm not going to go into the details of this, but the one that we are going to use here is create folder. And this has a lot of parameters that you can use to configure it. The important one here is the folder name. So this folder, I'm just taking opportunities name. So I used a variable called record.name, but this could also be a formula field where you could create a complex structure here. For example, if you want your folders to go into different folders based on financial years or any other use case, right? So you can use this, and then we just simply attach it to the opportunity. So it is this simple a flow. It just uses two CloudFiles actions. You can, if you want to create subfolders, you can just chain it, and the flow also takes that what is the parent folder ID where the folder should go. So you can change that, tweak that, and you can create as deep and folder hierarchy as you want. So that was about automatic folder creation. And the second one is related, which is automated nested folder. So you see how when I created an account folder, I also created two subfolders under it, contacts and opportunities. So that is all done through the same create folder button action, but just tweaking the parent folder ID. Okay, so now we come to a third use case, which is templated folder creation. So let's say you have a very complex folder structure and you don't want to create these folders one by one. There can be tens of folders or hundreds of folders nested. What you can do in that case, you set up the templates of the folder. You can pick up any template based on the requirements and based on some conditions even, and then just clone that to attach. So I'll show you a quick demo of this. We're going to do this on the campaign object. I'll just create a new campaign and let's just call it demo webinar phone. Okay, so this is for the telemarketing, let's say. I'm going to set up the type as telemarketing. And why I'm selecting the type specifically, because I'll show you that when we select a different type, it actually picks up a different template to clone. So we can put in those conditions in the flow. Okay, so I just created the campaign with the type telemarketing, and it would automatically clone a templated folder that I already have in my SharePoint. And you see it creates three folders: script, status folder, and phone numbers. But now we are going to create another campaign of a different type, and we'll see that it picks up another template. So let's just call it email campaign and set the type as email, create the campaign. And this is also all very quick as well. So you see this time the folder that differs is email list because I've changed that in my template. So you can basically put any pick any template based on the fields in Salesforce. So we'll move to the next use case, which is also very commonly used Salesforce feature in Service Cloud, where your customers would send you emails and it would create a case in Salesforce. The issue with it is that it takes the email attachments and it attaches them to your case object. That takes up the Salesforce storage, and you don't want that kind of organization. You want them in SharePoint in the right folders. So what we are going to do here is automatically pick these attachments and copy them over to SharePoint. To show it, I'm going to send an email to my Salesforce. Let's call it webinar case. And I'm going to attach some files here. Okay, I send the email. So in some time, in couple of seconds, it should create a case in my Salesforce and the CloudFiles flow would work. Before I show that to you, because it takes some time, I'll discuss the flow that's actually gonna do it. So the flow is simple. Whenever an email message is received, we just get the attachments using Salesforce's standard get records. Then we get the case folder and we see if there is already a case folder. If customer replies to the same email, say it goes to the same case, right? If we have one, we are going to use that case folder. If we don't have one, we are going to create a new case folder, attach it to the case, and then use that folder. And then for each attachment, we just make a list. You can also put conditions here. So let's say if you only want to copy over the images, you can put a condition on extension or file extension or file size, whatever you want to put here. And then we use a CloudFiles section, which is copying the files to SharePoint. So this is another CloudFiles section. And as I initially said, there are a lot of them. This one copies the files from Salesforce to SharePoint. So we'll just check it on our case object. So let's go here and find the case that was just created. Okay, I have the webinar case here. Now you see when the email came, Salesforce obviously already put the files on the Salesforce files, which is the attachment section, but this is the CloudFiles section, which is connected to SharePoint. And you see both the files have automatically been moved here. Now, what you can also optionally do is that once they're copied, you delete them from Salesforce, and that can also be taken care in the flow by CloudFiles very simply. Here, I'm not deleting them, but you can. And you can actually see that this is in the case folder in SharePoint. This also very well organizes it. So inside the cases folder, it created a folder for my case, and then it put the file there. So you can tweak it according to your needs, right? So this was copying the email to case attachments. Now, again, very super common use case is moving Salesforce files into SharePoint, which are attached into Salesforce manually, not through email. Now, let's say some of your customers, some of your users, sorry, they upload the files into Salesforce file component. Like we would highly recommend that they start using the CloudFiles component directly. But for any reason, if they upload it here, at the same time, you see there are a lot of tools in Salesforce that put files here. For example, your document generation tools, which are going to put your files in Salesforce, or your e-signature like DocuSign or GetAccept. When your contracts are signed, they are put into Salesforce files automatically. So what we want, we will pick this from Salesforce files and we want to put them into SharePoint. Optionally, you can delete them from Salesforce, right? So I'm going to just upload some files here. And let's take the one that's not here. So we have this one and we have this one. Okay. So these are the two files that I just uploaded into Salesforce. This can also come from automated tools like Conga Composer or your DocuSign or FormStack, GetAccept, whatever. Whatever works with files, basically. And give it a couple of seconds. What CloudFiles is going to do through a flow, it's going to pull these files from here and just going to put them in SharePoint. So you don't have to worry about files ever being in Salesforce and not being in SharePoint, right? So this has already taken care of it. And again, this does not impose any file size restriction. We have tested this with multiple GBs of files. So, as big the files they can be. Okay, we'll move to the next use case. This is creating files connect link. This is a little advanced use case, so we won't have enough time to discuss this. The seventh one is a platform event based flow. So basically, what I want to do here is I have an opportunity, say the one that we just created. I'll use that, and I upload a file onto this opportunity. Right now, the opportunity is in prospecting stage, and I'm just going to upload a file here. Since the file goes in SharePoint, I can use custom columns in SharePoint here. And I want to designate this file as proposal. So I'm just going to set the asset type as proposal. Now, when I do that, CloudFiles publishes a platform event in Salesforce that says that a proposal has been uploaded to this opportunity. And what we want is, we just want to change this opportunity stage to value proposition. So I'll just refresh the page. And you would see that the opportunity stage would have automatically changed to value proposition, right? Now, this is also a very quick and simple flow. I might have it open here. Okay, I don't, but basically you just put a platform event-based flow. You see when the property changes to proposal, you just update the Salesforce record in the flow. Pretty simple to do. Okay, the next thing I want to discuss with you is the Salesforce Experience Cloud, because a lot of Salesforce customers are working with their partners and customers through Experience Cloud. And the Salesforce native files actually don't have very good integration with Experience Cloud. There are access issues, there are security issues, and so many things. So with CloudFiles, you can use the exact same component that you have internally in Salesforce into your Experience Cloud site. And you can control everything that's available in Experience Cloud through permission sets. So I'm going to go to Experience Cloud site that I already have. So I have this one, and I'm going to show it to you on lead object. So I have this lead here. And just like I had the files tab internally, I can add it to the Experience Cloud as well. You can change the look and feel of it according to how your portal looks. And you see the lead was already connected to this folder in SharePoint called demo flows. Now, obviously, your partner users cannot jump into SharePoint because that is your SharePoint and they are not having access to it. But what they can do is upload files here or view the files that you upload into SharePoint for this leads folder. And right now, I have almost all the options enabled here, like the upload file, the new folder, but these can all be controlled using permission sets and disabled as you want. In fact, I think for here, you only see download preview because I have disabled sharing and all every option. So, you can control it according to your requirements through permission sets. Okay, so this brings to my last use case, which is collecting documents from customers. And this is gonna show you the other part of cloud file sharing. When I showed you the cloud files link to share files, this was uh, only sharing a file from sales from our side to customer side. We want to do reverse. We want our customers to send files to us. So I'll do this on the work orders object. I'm going to create a new work order. And as soon as the work order is created, first flow does this, that it creates a folder in my SharePoint and connects it here. So now what I want that for this work order, I want to, okay, we'll give it a couple of seconds. Yeah, so it has created a folder in SharePoint and connected here. Now, what I want is that all the files that I need for this work order, and they would be coming, a lot of them would be coming from customer. I want them in this folder in SharePoint. So with Cloud Files, currently our options are that we would just simply email the customer, ask them for files, download them from the email, find the right folder in SharePoint and put that. That's a lot of friction. So with Cloud Files, you can create a file collection link automatically and apply the security settings that you want automatically. So when I refresh this page, you would see that CloudFiles has already populated a field here called file collection link. Again, none of this is baked into the package. These are just flows and they can be tweaked according to your requirements. So I'm going to take this link and share it to customers. You can also automate that process. So maybe send them an email or something. Now this opens this file collection portal. You can change the look of field. You can completely look and feel of this. You can completely brand it. So add your logo, add your URL, add your colors and all. Now, as a customer, I'm going to upload some files here. And these files will automatically go in the right folder in my SharePoint. And since my SharePoint is connected to Salesforce, they would be instantly visible on the work order. Now, one of the very interesting use case of this is, let's say you want to collect certain type of documents. You can also use this functionality to find out that which type of files have been uploaded, which are not, and you can send reminders according to that, or move your project into next stage. There are two ways to do it. One is here, you see that there's only one file upload section. You can create multiple, and you can actually designate them for each type of file. So you can write this, hey, let's say you are uploading KYC documents. So you can say, hey, upload your driving license here, upload your passport here, say. So that is the manual process. But now with all the AI, CloudFiles is also integrated with AI. So has built AI for documents. So you can set up a flow and simply give it a prompt that as soon as a file is uploaded, let's say we give it a prompt, is it a driving license or a passport? And then you just branch it off and it's automatically going to know using AI what type of file it is. You can use AI literally for anything on your file. For example, you receive an invoice and you want to update the values in Salesforce. So you can say, hey, this is an invoice. Can you tell me what's the amount of the invoice or what's the due date? Once you get that values from Cloud File sections, you can update them into Salesforce. So that's all the AI. Now you see Salesforce is making a lot of noise with Einstein AI, and it's great, one of the greatest business AI, but it's not going to work with files anytime soon. CloudFiles has already done that, and we are using the same technology as Salesforce is. So that was the document collection use case. That's all the use cases. These are just examples. If you have questions, let us know. But the takeaway from this is using cloud file sections, you can literally build any kind of document related process, whatever you have. You can just tell us, we can set up the flows for you. It doesn't take much time. If it's very complex process, it might take some time, but again, CloudFiles team is there to help you. Uh, about the material that I just presented, we are going to email you a copy of it. You can also reach out to us anytime on our support email. And that's it. I will open it up to question and answers. Thank you.